And we were talking about it before we got on. You know, you made the comment that if shift happens or the end of the world happens and people are starving, they're going to revert back to their base nature, you know, and very few people, unless they've worked very hard at it, are going to rise above that base nature. And that's one of the reasons why I think these type of conversations are important, because it allows us to think about these things and gets us, it strengthens us, it hones us for whenever those times come, right? If somebody's making these decisions and they continue to make them, like just like your murky water thing, you know, at some point, like I'm going to refer back to people like Taylor Swift, the Biden supporters, people that are diehard Biden supporters. In my opinion, and after the last 3.5 years, actually more than that, because it was the run up to the election. If you can seriously say that you think him and his policies are the best choice, you know, you are intentionally taking that stand. You know, and I didn't know is not a good excuse anymore. I guess the question is, you know, looking at it from the outside, when do we say, hey, you know, you've crossed that line? I mean, is it something that can be set in stone, or is it something that is dependent on the situation?
I think it's a lot like stage 4 cancer. You probably missed a lot of it until it metastasized to that point. I don't think, okay, let me be careful here. I do believe that there is an objective morality. Okay.
Okay.
I do not feel as though I'm qualified to speak to it well. I am a Christian, but I am by no means a traditional Christian. And so I'm still fleshing out for myself where I see that. All I'm willing to say on that is it is foundational for me.
Okay. Since you brought the topic up, let's set a baseline. Let's answer the basic question here. Are people good? Let's talk about the spiritual versus the reality of that statement right there, right? And this is where, and if you're not a Christian, this is really part of the base moral framework of Western culture, whether you like it or not. The whole concept here. So you've got fallen nature versus people are good. What's your comment on that?
There is no such thing as a truly good person.
Okay.
Now, I'll explain that further because that's going to piss some people off. I don't believe we're born neutral. I believe we're born with a fallen nature. And that is demonstrable within the first 3 years of being alive. You don't have to be taught to say yes. You have to be taught to say no. You don't have to be taught to not wallow in your own filth. You have to be taught to be clean. You do not have to taught to be an agent of chaos. Your room will be a mess if your parents don't train you otherwise. You have to learn to be an agent of order. So we are not born neutral, and I believe we are fallen in our very nature. Now, not to get preachy about that, because I don't feel like that's, my role to be. What I will say is I do believe there's absolute evil, but I do not believe in our realm there's absolute good. I think what you have is a sliding scale of working towards the perfection that we are told that we're to do in our striving to be like, Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
But if we as people on our own could absolutely achieve goodness, then we wouldn't need all the other things that we absolutely have learned we do need for society to be at least civilized. And so, no, I don't believe people are basically good.
Okay. Well,
it takes work to be good.
I agree. The fallen nature of man suggests that we're inherently flawed and inclined towards selfishness and sin. Whereas the whole concept of people are inherently good is based on people's potential for altruism, yes. Right? So you've got the fallen nature is an immovable object, if you will. Whereas people's potential, that's a very subjective thing. you know, and like you said, the reality of it all is that we aren't, and we were talking about it before we got on. You know, you made the comment that if shift happens or the end of the world happens and people are starving, they're going to revert back to their base nature, you know, and very few people, unless they've worked very hard at it, are going to rise above that base nature. And that's one of the reasons why I think these type of conversations are important, because it allows us to think about these things and gets us, it strengthens us, it hones us for whenever those times come, right? And there's a book. Have you read the Screw Tape Letters?
No.
By C.S. Lewis. Okay, synopsis. The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, he was a Christian author, of course. Everybody might know him from The Witch, the Wardrobe, and Lion.
Mm-hmm.
But Screw Tape Letters was a bunch of letters that a major demon had written to a lesser demon who was in charge of bringing souls to hell. And so he was asking for advice how to be better at his job. And one of the questions that the lesser demon asks is, what are 3 things I can do to help people on the road to hell? And the very first suggestion that Screw Tape gives him is convince people that they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And so that leads into the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes.
And that's where we're going to go next. We're going to start talking about that. Thanks, Milo.